Hey, welcome back. It is Wednesday. We made it to the halfway point. Bob Kravitz from The Athletic joins us now.
I thought you were, I didn't think you were going to come back. I thought I was going to have to do the intro.
You know what?
Welcome to Sports Beat Radio, sponsored by hell. I don't know.
I'll have to try that sometime, see how that works out.
Yeah, no. The only way I'll do that for you is if you play your rap song for the masses on this air.
Once I get done, maybe I will. Once I finish. Thad Matta,
yes,
is kind of rolling. I mean, nothing has happened, but things seem to be going well for him at Butler.
Yeah, they got a couple of transfers. Obviously, Eric Hunter Jr. from Purdue is probably the biggest name. Is from Akron, Ali, I think is his name. So look, he's a hell of a proven coach. He's got his health is in the right place after several years of really struggling after back surgery. So I think that he's going to be fine. This is a guy who won 4 or 5 Big Ten titles, got to the NCAA Final Four twice, once with Conley and Oden. So I think it was a great pickup, and that like Indiana, a lot of momentum in that program right now.
Yeah, and good for him. And speaking of Indiana, the Hoosiers will be they're all in town. The freshmen have moved in, so they're out and together and doing that bonding stuff, everything that goes along with that. We've got the All-Star games that are coming up, all of that action as well. You've got the Colts. Let's talk about the Colts first.
Yes.
They're out at Abbott, little mini camp action.
Yeah, this is a big thing because they didn't do this last year. The players didn't want to do it, and they kind of talked, and they had the right through the CBA to make a deal with the Colts, and so they decided not to do it, and they made it very clear from Ballard, Irsay, and Reich that they thought that was one of the reasons why they got off to a slow start. With a new quarterback and to not have the normal complement of OTAs was a really stupid, selfish move on the part of the players, and they're doing it now. And I think it's going to give them a step up on what they need to do, especially early in the season when they've got a couple of AFC South games that they can't afford to lose to Houston and Jacksonville.
I'm going to try to get you to go out and come back in. I think we've got a little audio copying going on, so just jump out and we'll get him back in here. But yeah, it's that time of year, man, where you don't think about it, but the NFL is getting ready in the background. I keep saying we're not that far away. We're inside 100 days of the football countdown already. But I noticed as well, it's probably about 155 days inside of college basketball. So that's where we've come down to, man. $100-day countdowns for everything. When it's over, we start doing the countdown, looking back for more. But it'll be back here as soon as, maybe sooner than you think. But not really. But football will be here. It's rolling around. And then as soon as football gets here, basketball is right underneath because it gives I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, it's right there beside him. Colin Enrip on the program today as well. Rick Bozich, looking forward to that as well as wait for Bob Kravitz to make his return. There he comes. Looking forward to that. There you go. Look, sounded like a champ now.
Good. Well, I have that mellifluous voice that's, it's a face for radio and a voice for God knows what.
Yeah, I got that, all that as well. Back to the Colts. first season, obviously, with Matty Ice. Not just well, and they're finally in the position that you begged for all of last year. They not only do they have a better starting quarterback, but they have the backup that you have so long for, asked for. So now they have the pieces in place.
Right. Yeah. No, I think Nick Foles would have been here last year, but they didn't want to do that to the very sensitive Carson Wentz. They didn't want him to sit, with Foles in the background, maybe take his job when he. He was just an insecure guy, which is one of the reasons why he's no longer with the Colts. Look, Foles as a starter has never been any good, but in the short term, you can count on Foles to at least give you a professional performance. I've never understood why GMs are so insistent upon depth at every position, and yet, a quarterback, they're willing to go with some fourth-round draft pick like Ellinger and take their chances and basically lose games that the starter's not in. So I think this is a great, great move.
Didn't the ironic thing is, didn't the Winston Foles duo that happened in Philly, right?
Right. And that was not apparently that made him very uncomfortable, very he just didn't feel good with Foles looking over his shoulder, which should tell you everything you need to know about Carson Wentz. Here was a guy who was second pick in the draft. He was a guy who was on an MVP path. His second or third year, I can't recall. Why he would worry about Nick Foles as much as he did, I don't know. But obviously, Foles came in and led that playoff push, and they beat New England in one of the great Super Bowls ever. Again, I think Nick Foles gives them a security blanket that they haven't had in many, many years, since Jacoby Brissett, basically.
Yeah, and this is probably better than, well, I won't say it's better than that, but it's better than that. In the aggregate of the one and the two, they're probably better situated than they were back then.
Yeah, probably. I mean, we're talking, I thought Jacoby was a guy, I mean, you could win a couple of games a year that he started. Remember, they started, I think, 5-2, and then they fell off the face of the earth later in the season. Part of it was an injury to Jacoby. Part of it was Jacoby's not that good. Again, I think Nick Foles, if you have one game you need to win, or you need him to play a couple of quarters because Matty Ice got dinged, then yeah, I mean, I'm perfectly comfortable with it. I thank God they finally did it. I think it's going to come in very, very handy, even though Matt Ryan is a bit of an Iron Man and doesn't often get hurt. But you never know. He just turned 37. The body changes, you get hurt, and all those nagging things start to become an issue.
Is he on the TB12 program?
I had a friend who went on the TB12 diet just for fun. So it's the most disgusting thing he's ever done. He lost weight and he looked good and he felt good, but he said eating should be fun. Eating that TB12 crap was not fun.
But that tells you, really does, and I have to give it to him, the constant determination of Tom Brady to last this long. I mean, it truly is, to play quarterback in the National Football League for the length of time that he has in this day and age. It's it's pretty remarkable. I mean,
it is remarkable, but I want to take once in a while.
Oh, I hear you. Brother, I've got my own diet. It's called stress. I had a big dose for breakfast, a little bit of lunch, and another big helping for dinner, and a little snack of it for bed. It is always yeah.
Whatever works for you, Jim Coyle.
That's it. Hey, also big news as far as Simone Biles and the others in that group are seeking over $1 billion from the FBI over
Good.
the Larry Nassar case,
That's
as
right.
they should. Um,
Good for them.
again, how those the officers they got away scot free without no punishment, which that's neither here nor there. But
No, good, because they I mean, they got victimized multiple times. They got victimized, obviously, by Nassar. They got victimized by the Gymnastics Federation, and then they got victimized by the FBI. That didn't do squat about what they were talking about. We need to listen to women. We need, people are saying the Me Too movement is dead now because of the Johnny Depp thing. To me, that was an anomaly. When women cry, have these issues, we need to freaking believe them. And look, if there's nothing there, there's nothing there. But when this many young ladies, it's kind of like the Deshaun Watson thing, with 24 civil cases now. Sports Illustrated just reported that he sought out 66 massage therapists in 17 months. I mean, how do you not believe the women? I mean,
who did? Are you talking about
Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, 66.
66 in 17 months. I guess he couldn't find one he liked.
Well, there you go. Also, you've got I guess, is your most recent piece on the Post Indy?
Yeah, that, and I wrote about that, but
tell me about. But I didn't. I was out of town. Didn't get to go to Indy. Watched it. Listened to it. What a great race!
It was a great race.
There had been so many times where that race wasn't great.
Yeah,
the racing is good now.
Yeah,
I'm becoming an Indy car fan as well. I mean, I watched NASCAR. I watched the Detroit Grand Prix. That was kind of fun. I'm starting to enjoy this racing a lot more now, and the racing seems to be getting better, if that's possible.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, it's a flat track, so it's tough to pass. But these cars are so advanced technologically that these drivers are able to pass. And I thought the right guy won the race because Marcus Ericsson, had almost a 3-second lead with 5-6 laps to go when his teammate of all people, Jimmy Johnson, crashed out, and that led to a restart. They red flagged and they restarted it, and you thought, oh, here comes Tony Kanaan, and who doesn't root for Tony Kanaan? Certainly I do. But
why is he so well liked?
He's just the nicest guy in the world, man. I mean, if you had him on the air, he would just fill the time with humor and humanity, and he's just a really good guy. It's the only way I can really describe it. But nobody knows Marcus Ericsson. He was a longtime F1 guy who didn't do anything. He's Swedish. We don't really know him in this country. It's kind of like when Takuma Sato of Japan won. We're like, who? Is there anybody else we can write about?
Yeah, fun race. Jimmy Johnson, speaking of him, his first Indy 500, former NASCAR guy, crashed out on there with that 3-second lead that his teammate had to shrink. And when that happened, I was like, man, if this dude loses the Indy 500 because of that, that was that was a bad mistake by Johnson. He put his tire down on that concrete, and I guess the difference between being on the track and that concrete is sudden.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You slide right out. No, that would have been if I was Chip Ganassi, I would have been pissed at Jimmy Johnson for making that mistake. But at the same time, he is a rookie. It's only his second time on an oval. The The first time was in Texas a couple of weeks back. So I guess you give him a hall pass for that. But yeah, I mean, I thought the right guy won the race, and it was a good race. And I'm like you. I've been here, you know, I haven't been here as long as you. You've been here forever, but I've been here 22 years, and honestly, I'm a stick and puck guy, and you know, I still don't go out of my way to watch Belle Isle, you know, or what have you. But the Indy 500 to me is so fascinating. The race itself and the whole lead up to the race, the qualifications, the stories, the crashes. By the way, how does Colton Herta survive something like that? It amazes me the technology and the safety elements of these cars, and the fact that, you know, he went for a long ride on his head and was completely uninjured. It's amazing.
He was saved by racing today and not 5 years ago.
Absolutely, there's no question about it.
It is Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson's wreck did not look that bad, probably, because luckily a lot of the energy was taken out because he does a 360 before he gets to the wall,
right?
But where he ends up hitting it head on. But even at that point, I don't know at the speed that he's down to by then. It's probably he's down to 140 miles an hour, maybe. But you're going head on into something that's going to stop your momentum fast at 140 miles an hour. 10 years ago, he probably dies without the Hans, the head and neck restraint device, without the safer barrier wall. Mm-hmm. That's a different scenario.
And certainly, and the aero screen, the aero screen.
Well, that's you talking about the halo.
Yeah,
that's what saved Colton Herta. That's what saved his life, and that's what I meant from 5 years ago. They didn't have that, and I'm like, oh my God. I was like, how did they ever not have this? But you know what? In NASCAR, I looked. They used to not have the safety net. There is a great wreck by Richard Petty at Darlington, one of the well-known tracks of today, where it's the pit road entrance, the wall that divides pit road and the rest of the track.
Right.
He somehow ends up hitting the end of that like head on.
Ooh.
And there's no safer barriers back there. He took the wall out and the car flips, I think. And then at the end, you can see his arm laying outside of the vehicle because it's laying over. And his mom, I think, or someone, mom or his wife, knitted up the very net screen.
Is that right? Well, I'll tell you what, the Earnhardt death.
But they had that made him.
That changed everything. I have an old friend. He used to be a publisher at the Indianapolis Star named Tim Franklin, who was then at the Orlando paper, and he went to court and got all the documentation, which pissed off a lot of racing people, but it led to them being forced to add elements of safety to the sport. And I remember when I was much younger, before I was paying attention to the sport, I remember the old Jim Murray line from the Los Angeles Times: "Gentlemen, start your coffins." You know, that was a year when like 3 guys passed away during the month of May. So it's a very different sport, and thank God that it is. But man, it's still, I remember going to Denver and watching Robert Wickens, who was in a terrible crash at Pocono. I remember watching him, you know, painstakingly rehab. And look, it's still the most dangerous sport there is.
Well, you could watch the Earnhardt crash over and over, and it looks like one of the most benign wrecks you've ever seen in NASCAR. But what people cannot grasp, as even he's going forward, and then he's going forward in this direction. Well, he's still going forward at about 180 miles an hour.
Right.
This is at a time where he was a rebel. He wore the open face helmet.
Yes.
He didn't even have a shield. He would wear goggles if he needed to, but I think he eventually would go to a shield maybe. But the Hans, the head and neck restraint system.
Right.
Had come out. I think a lot of Indy guys were using it. I don't know if it was required in Indy at that time. It was not required in NASCAR. Only a handful of guys were, or I can't remember, but guys were using it in NASCAR, but it was not required.
Right.
And he's one of those guys that I had heard that he had even unstitched some of his restraints because he didn't like being restrained. But if I remember correctly, he died from his head being snapped and I think maybe a blunt trauma to the steering wheel on the right side. And now if you look at the seats in NASCAR, I mean, man, they come out this far, as far as your elbow, and four of them, and about that much padding.
Right.
So you cannot move in that direction. The Hans, the head and neck restraint system, keeps your head from snapping forward. And
it's a different sport now, and it needs to be. I mean, we were just losing too many people, especially in IndyCar. I remember Mario Andretti went out for a drive a couple of years ago and flew through the air. I don't know if it was a practice run or what he was doing, but it's like, how in the hell did he survive that? And you find yourself consistently, in wonderment and amazement about how these guys walk away from these hellish crashes.
Absolutely, man. They're badasses like you, brother. What's coming up next?
Well, I'm doing something. I'm going out to Colts today. They got mini camp. I'm going to do something about Kenny Moore, who is at practice, and his mini holdout is no longer, but I'm curious how he feels about his contract to the extent that he may actually talk about it. And then I'm doing something on the very special relationship between DeForest Buckner and Frank Reich. Frank went to DeForest's baptism about 1.5 2 years ago. And so I talked to them about, their spiritual relationship, which may interest nobody except for me, but I'm going to write that at some point. And it's a slow time in Indy, so there's not a hell of a lot to write about unless you're Doyle, and then you write 6 times a week.
All right, brother. Well, appreciate it. Look, I hope you can make it down for the Jordan Hulls golf outing on June 23rd.
Well, I hope I get an invite.
Well, you're invited now. I mean,
okay, cool.
There you go. I'll send that to you if you don't already have that. But everybody else as well, go to thehoosier.com. But we'll hit a break. I'll talk about that later. But the great Bob Kravitz from The Athletic. Make sure you're a subscriber. I am. Great coverage by those guys. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
Thank you, buddy. Take care.